In 1665, the world shut down. A deadly plague swept through England, forcing universities to close and sending students home. Among them was a quiet, unknown young man. No title, no recognition, no audience. He returned to the countryside, alone. And in the silence of isolation, he began to change how we understand the universe. Isaac Newton was never meant to be remarkable. He was born prematurely, so small that no one expected him to survive. His father died before he was born. His mother left him in the care of relatives. He grew up quiet, withdrawn, often alone. At school, he wasn't known for brilliance at first, was known for being distant, but something was happening beneath the surface. Newton wasn't interested in fitting into the world, he was trying to understand it. When the plague closed University of Cambridge, Newton didn't return to a lab. He returned to solitude. For nearly 2 years he lived in near total isolation. No lectures, no collaboration, no validation, just questions. Why do objects fall? What is light made of? Can motion be measured precisely? There were no deadlines, no expectations. Only the freedom and the burden of thinking alone. In that quiet period, something extraordinary happened. Newton began developing the mathematics that would later be called calculus, a new way to describe change itself. He explored the nature of light, discovering that white light isn't pure, but a mixture of colors. And he began forming the ideas that would become the laws of motion and gravity. The famous image of an apple falling from a tree may be simplified, but the question behind it was real. Why does everything fall toward the earth? And more importantly, what invisible force governs it? In isolation, Newton wasn't just finding answers. He was building an entirely new framework for reality. But Newton's mind wasn't only focused on science. He was deeply secretive, obsessive, often consumed by his thoughts. He spent years studying alchemy, searching for hidden truths in matter. He wrote extensively about theology, trying to understand the divine structure of the universe. And he guarded his discoveries closely. When others, like Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, developed similar mathematical ideas, Newton reacted fiercely, leading to one of history's most famous intellectual rivalries. Genius, for Newton, was not calm. It was intense, restless, and often isolating. But Newton's mind came at a cost. It wasn't just curious, he was obsessive. He once inserted a needle behind his own eye, just to understand how vision worked. He stared at the sun for too long, risking blindness, trying to unlock the nature of light. He would work for days without rest, consumed by questions no one else could see. Years later, Newton would publish his work in the Principia, a book that changed science forever. It gave the world a way to understand motion, force, and the structure of the universe with precision. For the first time, the chaos of nature could be described with clarity. His ideas would shape physics for centuries, but the most important part of his story isn't just what he discovered. It's where he discovered it, not in recognition, not in collaboration, but in solitude. Today, we live in a world that fears stillness. We fill every moment with noise. We measure progress through visibility. But Newton's story suggests something different. Sometimes, the most important work happens when no one is watching. That isolation is not always emptiness. It can be a space for depth, a space where ideas are not rushed, where questions are allowed to unfold. You may not change the laws of the universe, but you might discover something just as important. A way of seeing the world that didn't exist before. And maybe the quiet moments you're avoiding are where your best ideas are waiting.